Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Your Wellcast. Today, we are going to talk about awareness, still as a subject that I'm going to harp on for a while, like awareness before action, right? So, the question today becomes, what if we're looking at it in terms of how do I become healthier? Instead of how do we create environments in which those healthy choices are easier? So we need to start being aware of what it means when we speak about environments. And are those environments making the choices that I want to make for myself and my health and my well-being easier to make because the environment is set up in that way? The large idea that I want you to come away from with this today is that behavior isn't done in isolation, right? Like behavior doesn't happen in isolation. All of our choices that we make are completely shaped by our environment, the people that are around us, the information that we're consuming, sometimes the information like our reactions putting out, right? And the stories that we tell ourselves. So what's happening internally and externally are both environmental states in which impact the concept of making healthier choices for ourselves. Okay. So that happens to be true in organizations of all sizes, in our homes, and like I said, within ourselves. It's the stories that we're telling ourselves. So the philosophy being that awareness always comes before action. It's why I talk about sensuality, and it's why I talk about senses, and it's why I talk about your intuition and your internal wisdom so often, is that when we walk into a space, are we clocking what's happening around us, right? Are we listening to that intuitive hit about the clutter or the tense nature of a room as you walk in for a meeting with multiple people? Is there laughter? Is it jovial? So all of that helps you gauge your environment, and the environment is so key to our nervous system. My time in Cleveland, I definitely had an interesting home experience. And I would say, as a personal example to that statement, simply being, there were many external environmental factors that was making my nervous system not um, safe, right? Like not on that level of zero ground that we all want to be on, calm, peaceful, joyful, etc. So I think when we're talking about changing habits, I think it's of the utmost importance that we consistently become aware of our environment. For a long time, I worked at a multifamily residential complex, and that's what it was about, the well building standard, right? So based on the infrastructure, yes, and also the environment in which you make for yourself. So it's based off of noise, off of air, off of water, um, comfort, right? What is the lighting? What is the community aspect? So there's so many pieces that can go into what your environment looks and feels like. Constantly, I'm working on understanding that this world isn't about the material things, but I think when we get to the nuts and bolts of what I'm talking about in terms of environment, it is your essence. In terms of design, right? Like the external spaces in which you live, work, and play solely become a part of who you are. And I think when we're trying to change habits, as many people are doing on a regular basis, because they feel, not good enough in whatever well-being dimension, it's smart to hone in on where in my environments might there be, some dissonance there. We're constantly noticing what we have to fix, and that's fine. But in order to do that, we need to look at the environments, including ourselves, right? So understand what is shaping the things that we're trying to fix is one of the biggest pieces of information that will help you bridge that gap between, the contemplation, ready for change, towards the implementation. It begins with the analysis of what is shaping my sleep, what is shaping my breakfast choices, what is shaping the dialogue with my partner or my friend or my child, right? We're constantly in this state of influx, right? Like there's so much health information that's coming at us, podcasts, social media, experts, research. Like I said last time, information isn't the problem. It is whittling down that information and taking that information and absorbing only what, so to speak, matters to you and the habit that you perceive you would like to change in this moment, right? Like the challenge is learning to separate the true information, the true education from all of the noise. And I also had a discussion earlier this weekend about the noise. Essentially, there's so many people and things that will say, oh, this is bad for you and this is bad for you. They say, we need to let things ride a little bit. Like, what's the actual research around some of those things? Correlation, causation, like making sure that truly over time we have data that backs up what it is we're putting in our bodies, what it is we're using on our bodies, that kind of stuff, right? Like I think, again, be very cognizant of the noise versus the educational information that really gives you that intuitive hit around expansion. Like that I understand. That's the rabbit hole I want to go down. It's really important to take the information, use your awareness tactics and skills that we talk about here, and bring that slowly into a space in which you are creating those healthful habits for yourself. I often like to use the metaphor of the moon. The moon just reminds us to observe before we react, and to notice things before we immediately try and fix them. I'm guilty of that. I'll go down rabbit holes of, there's something that comes up and I want all the research, I want all the information, and I just try to fix in that level. But that doesn't mean that every ounce of information that I'm taking in works for me or for that said situation, okay? So it's important to, again, take in pieces around what it is that you're, trying to manifest, what you're trying to change. And then oftentimes you can sit with that uncertainty and start to trust the process, because your internal wisdom, your environment is going to give you, in time and space, the said answers, right? I think it's super important to know that it's not always about should, right? It's not shoulding on ourselves all the time. we always are like, what should I do? What should I do in this situation, or this uncertainty, or with this person, or within this environment? It's more like, what can I choose today? And what am I choosing today if I trusted the wisdom within myself whilst using that evidence and information that I'm drawn to? I think that's the overarching message today. It's dropping your shield, dropping that wall just enough so you can begin to trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust the silence, and, listen to the cues all over the place. Again, sometimes our bodies bring out fear, bring out the nervousness, the fear, the anxiety, when really that's just a limiting belief. Those are patterns that we've had within us to keep us safe, right? That's why I say take the time, sit with some of the uncertainty. Because listening to both your inner voice, outside voices, and integrating that evidence, the experience, your intuition, and your awareness is all going to bring about the healing aspect, right? That you're looking for in that growth, in that change. And that will bring about something that becomes uniquely your own, okay? It's like bioindividuality that people talk about mostly with nutrition and cellular health and things like that, but it's also around every other aspect of health and habits and healing, is that what is going to work for, my sister, my best friend, partner, whomever, mother, I always bring up parents, right? Like, they're not, just because it works for them, or it did work for them, or did not, doesn't mean that that is a linear path. I think sometimes it's listening to your awareness. It's using awareness. It's listening and seeing and feeling your environments. It's integrating that experience and that evidence that you've embodied within your life, and all of that becomes your unique own path. And it's releasing the conflicting noise. You're never going to get one answer, right? You're just going to get I don't want to say symbolism. It's more just like pieces of the puzzle that you'll get, that becomes more and more aware within yourself that is the right, it's not right or wrong, but like the right answer for you, that is uniquely your own, right? Like choosing your voice, choosing your thoughts, your feelings, your guidance and direction. That's where the lasting change begins. So again, awareness. It's bringing it back to calming your nervous system enough to become aware of who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, and where is there that dissonance, that seemingly like barrier that you run up against oftentimes, or cyclical patterns that keep going, that you know better but still happening. Where and why is that happening, right? Like, if we ask ourselves, what is the best space for me to learn and grow? When you ask that question with enough silence, with enough reflection, your body begins to expand and or exhale in like calm, when you know that the answer is one way, and it constricts and it gets really like heavy and sharp and maybe frustrated, right? If the answer is your no. But again, that's going to be different for every human. So to recap, I just want you to understand that your behavior isn't you, right? You're only seeing the world as yourself. You're not seeing it from the bird's eye view of, other people or God, the universe, everything else, like putting it all together. You're just seeing what you see and how you feel and things like that. And so when you take a bit of yourself out of the picture and you begin to put down the blame or the shame or the guilt that the things I want to try and do to get healthier aren't happening, take a look today. Take a look today and ask, how am I creating an environment in and around myself to make those healthier choices easier, right? That's change. That's behavior. So I wish you the best. We'll be back, more awareness as it helps you bridge that gap from the information and the implementation and the actual action that we partake in each and every day. So just some more nuggets today, but I wish you the best and have a wonderful week.